often found quite a lot of success. Perhaps musing about the intricacies of substitutes can wait for the main event, the people on the field right now, namely JDG versus Invictus Gaming, who are on the blue side and the red side, respectively. YSKM, of course, going up against Sheer, two of our more exciting prospects in the top lanes. Ban's already flying, Smolder's off the table. On blue side, interestingly, but that tells me they don't want to first pick it. I wonder whether JDG are going to be forced to ban the Senna on the other side as a result.
Yeah, Senna's still maintaining very, very high presence and win rate within the LPL. However, we'll definitely see whether it's going to be the Varus or something like that. Varus, very, very lane dominant. I think Arn and Wink, they have had a breakout split for themselves. I think that, you know, these are players who have been playing for a while, but they found new levels of form. I don't think you want to give Ruler the Varus on the other side of it. I wonder if you have to take it immediately yourself.
Yeah, Ruler's Varus is notoriously excellent. Of course, again, he's got quite a number of champions notoriously excellent on. The Zeri, of course, from last year was a Terra. He's got his own Xayah skin. World Championship all those years ago. Now instead, it'll be Ari locked in first pick, which I wasn't expecting.
Okay, so we have seen this in a couple of other regions right now, particularly once Karma and Nico are off the board. Nothing really answers Ari in mid lane. It feels like Nico and Karma trade very well early and stop the champion from being able to trade hard on you, push in the wave, and then go roam out the best of the map. So I think IG, what they're saying is, it doesn't matter what you play bot side. If we have the dominant mid lane matchup, we can use that to roam down bot side. Now, I think we're going to see the Varus locked in for Arn and Wink. I think that's likely. And then I think we're going to see a Talia locked in for Yagao to match the roaming potential of the Ahri at least post 6. That's my prediction.
That's not a bad call. I think that makes some sense. I suppose the other angle is maybe to go towards the Senate if they are wanting to perhaps not play as aggressively here around the bot lane.
Oh, it is Arn and Wink.
But it is also Arn and Wink, so the Draven's a possibility and has been known to take the gauntlet that Kalista throws down, and it is locked in.
This is so funny because every time we see this locked in for IG, I have to say this, Wink used to be an AD carry and he used to be a Draven player before Draven got...
Really?
So, you know, that was when Draven wasn't played as much. So both of these players in the bot lane for IG have been Draven players in the past. Now, of course, Draven, very good versus the Kalista because she can't hop away from a spinning axe. You just load that up and you get a lot of damage. Now, if you're looking towards real kill lane, you probably are looking towards a hook champion like this. Renata, Kalista, you manage to hit the Kalista mid-hop or the Renata, then it can very much be lights out that laning phase. It really is screaming everyone running bot side, so I think that JDG, they either need to lock in a roaming mid right now that can help from Yagao, or maybe someone with the Xin Sao that can immediately run bot lane as a 3v3 jungler. I think both of them are valuable.
Yeah, it depends. Whichever one you don't pick is going to be causing some trouble. What we have seen into the Ahri more last year than this, but it has been coming back around again, is the Annie to try and force out their trades against Ahri, who she just doesn't enjoy.
So, and also Yagao, arguably the best Annie player in the LPL of last year. It was him and Knight, and they were the two which were absolutely absurd on this champion. It allows Yagao to have a solid early laning phase and be that engaged threat on a really good timing the way that he likes to. The way that I like to describe Yagao is that if you're jumping into hell, he is literally one step behind you, and he will join you in any engage, so you want to give him champions that give him the most potent impact with that one. I will say though, I do think that a lot of Ahris right now are not experimenting with their secondary runes to deal with the Annie laning phase. We're still seeing a lot of like the triple tonic, sometimes the biscuits and stuff like that for inspiration. If you take resolve secondary runes, it can allow you to trade harder with the Annie and stop her from pinning you in early, because as it seems right now, Annie is winning the early laning phase. So I'm going to track that personally. I think we will start to see some evolution of that later on, as it feels like the bans with the Nidalee and the Xin Sao are early aggressive junglers that can go towards bot lane as well.
Of course, the last time we saw someone like Lian on the Nidalee, he did unspeakable things.
Yep.
And obviously the Gwen against YSKM perhaps indicates a look for something like Cassante on the other side for Sheer. Also something that YSKM's played a fair amount as well. The Lee Sin follow-up on the Xin Sao makes a lot of sense. It's the other early spiking AD jungler. I suppose up at this point there is something like the Kindred should they wish to go for it, but there's that Cassante 4th pick I was musing about. What does YSKM want to do into it? You could still Jax or something.
Camille, it's his pick. Camille is his Cassante answer, that's the one that is the hover, and also when you've got such mobile champions like the Kalista, it can be a really good lockdown. It's a very easy lock-in. JDG should have known this is coming, so they need to be prepared for this now. He is the one player that has been playing Camille pretty much on cooldown within the LPL. And Lian, I think something like this Viego, it has like one shotgun gank in the early game, and also when you have stuff like the Draven and the Camille, you can just play for the double reset comp. In fact, in 2022, we did see a lot of the Ahri Viego as a full win condition comp, and that is going to be locked in. It's been one of the real LPL specialties recently.
Yeah, the value that IG get on kill first target is huge. The Ahri, the Viego resets, the Draven cash in, it all feels really good. It obviously works very well with the Blitzcrank. The last pick will be the Jax for the jungle for Kanavi, who is pretty good into some of these melee brawlers, and obviously not banned the Draven either, so you can see the thought process there.
Yeah, there's 3 big auto attackers in IG, and the Camille, the Viego, and then the Draven as well. Even if you get hooked by the Blitzcrank, if you've got your Counter-Strike running, you can use that as kind of like a delivery service too. So IG, a lot of snap and grab, fast engages. On the other side from JDG, they have a lot of that too though. And if you misstep, you're misstepping into a Renata ultimate, and of course the Kalista ultimate, which can reset the fights as well. I love these drafts. I think that we're going to see a lot of fighting. I think that the fights are going to be very explosive, and they're going to be on very tight margins as well. I think that there is a lot of responsibility on the bot lanes to understand what's happening on the rest of the map to stay safe, and that is going to be very hard to do when you have champions like Ahri and Addy that can just turn up randomly out of Fog of War and end your career. Same kind of thing with the Jax and the Camille as well from different roles.
Yeah, and I like that you say the responsibility to stay safe, because that responsibility gets harder to act on if you lose control of the river. Imagine losing control of a river versus a Blitzcrank. Vision control there, always a nightmare. On the other side, the Annie does similar things. We talked about the Ahri, we talked about the Jax, all of these things which have that very dangerous snap engage. There's not many champions here that are going to be super happy about face checking. Maybe the Cassante, I suppose. Everyone else feeling a bit leery about walking into a bush blind.
We have seen that Sheer has had some very good laning performances and some great team fights on the Cassante as well. Remember that he has stepped into the shoes of Flandre. Flandre, one of the all-time greats of the Chinese top lane, the only non-Korean solo laner to win Worlds since 2012. It has been a long time since that's happened, so that's the kind of shoes which Sheer has been falling into himself and trying to fill in. And we do have ourselves a standoff in the bot river, as I think JDG were trying to call out if there was going to be a level 1. There is a Blitzcrank, there's always a chance of it. I actually feel like Nautilus is the better level 1 though.
Yeah, Nautilus level 1, partly because it's not just the hook, you also have the passive. Yeah. And that's really good for a full-on brawl. I get that Blitzcrank's ability to pull someone over walls and away from their team so dramatically has a huge amount of power, and it's why people do love to use the early Blitzcrank level 1, but it's not going to happen this time around. And interestingly, IG decided we don't want to take a 5v5 and we'll take 2 men to put a ward down on the enemy red buff.
Just quickly tapping on this again, so it's not going to be the early resolve runes for the alley lane. It wouldn't surprise me now if Crine does fall behind in the first few levels of the game. We've seen players like Showmaker pin back. I think it was even against Faker we even saw him play the Annie into the Ahri and get solo kills in lane and do very well in early levels. This is a dangerous matchup for Ahri in a way that very few are. This is kind of cool from Arn and Wink. What they're doing is they're hiding their jungle start from their jungler because they're using the spinning axes. You can see that the mana has been kept down, so they probably are just going to... In fact, I think there was just a red ping onto the enemy red buff as well. So JDG might have some misinformation about where Leanne has started on the Viego.
It's very intelligent there. It also gives a few more stacks to the Draven early, and especially when you're into the Kalista Renata, maybe you're feeling a little bit leery about pushing too aggressively. Jax, as it stands, on the bottom side as well, so it could still prove to be in a problematic position if they do decide to 2 or 3 gank bot. I don't think that's going to happen right now. Instead, YSKem going for a quick hook shot and getting a nice trade onto Sheer. Left with just the early lanes to keep an eye on.
So I wonder what... So Kanavi's clearing bot to top, and IG have a ward on the enemy red buffs. They know that by this point Kanavi is not on his top quadrant. They know he's going bot to top. Now, if JDG do have some misinformation about where they think Leanne is starting, they might think that Leanne is also going bot to top, and they really need to get just 1 extra ward to see whether they can find out where Leanne has gone. But with Yagao not being able to leave lane and using his first level ward already, they're not going to have that kind of vision. So it's on Kanavi really now in the next 30 seconds or so to try and figure out where Leanne is going in the early game.
That's the plan, and if they don't, and it's going to be potentially a very dangerous moment bot side if Ruler and Missing could find themselves in a pretty alarming 3v2 once the jungler turns up. We'll be here shortly. I don't think we'll be spotted out even with using the harrowed path there. No wards in that tri-brush or anything to spot out a Viego coming along.
No, not just yet. So...
early sweeper.
Yeah, well, we saw this at level 1 as well, remember. We saw that to clear out that thing there. So Leanne, completely off of vision again. I think with the way that the bot lane is pathing now, I think they'll know that Leanne is on the bot side of the map, especially with Wink walking up so brazen. Sometimes through body language you can tell that, and you can see that Ruler and missing. Actually choosing to take an early recall and saying, look, there's no point staying for an extra wave. We don't have access to that wave, and we've seen the mid lane. Cryan actually doing quite well in terms of those early trades against Yagao. Kanavi off vision himself, of course, so he's going to get himself onto this top side scuttle, keep himself with farm up, and Lian actually just shows himself in mid lane, so now JDG finally have some jungle information.
They do. Also means Kanavi can potentially look towards a top lane gank, and actually YSKM shoved up pretty hard here, gets hit with the wrong end of a Pathmaker. There's the counter strike afterwards. There's a hook shot and doesn't need to use the flash. Began to say that one perhaps a bit preemptively. He gets away without having to burn that summoner.
Unless you have the Cassante W up, or of course it's post level 6, you don't have a way to actually cancel the hook shot. The way that this happens is because of the buffering is, you press E, the hook shot flies out. Any kind of displacement which happens before the hook shot hits the wall does not matter, because in League of Legends the rule is the last displacement is the one which goes first. So if you hit Camille after she hits the wall with something like the Cassante W, then you can cancel the flight of the E. You can cancel them from moving towards the wall. So that's kind of the way that you want to time things. And right there, YSKM just about gets out with enough HP and isn't cancelled in the same way, and gets back to lane safely with a teleport.
Does indeed, and that's fine. Still down a bit as CS, but not anything game breaker or anything as yet. Should have most of a wave here to pick up, so shouldn't find themselves down a huge discrepancy. Smaller kind of deals in towards that bot side where Ruler and Missing were forced off half a wave or so. Instead, we kind of have a continually relatively even early game as trying to find a way over vision is Kanavi, using the ward there to hop into the Dragon Pitch, but to trade that for the grubs that Leon's doing on the other side of the map.
Okay, so, objective for objective trade. Now, the thing is, you do have grubs with a Camille. So there's a chance that that becomes a bit of a problem with split push later into the game. Of course, YSKM, no stranger to split pushing as well. Wink walking into Ruler, who cancels his back, and Wink is going to get stuck full of spears. Take a bit of a trade. Ruler doesn't really have the mana to pull the Rend out, though. So, in terms of, I wonder if he could have just pulled the Rend and then looked for a recall. But I think he wants to stay in laning phase and wants to keep his mana a little higher.
Wonder whether there's a particular item breakpoint he's looking for. There are a couple of ways you can build Kalista right now, but a lot of those part completes are pretty valuable. You can find that on first level as Yagao hits level 6, immediately drops down Tippers and takes half of Cryan's HP bar.
So actually there is a, so it's the Halo Blades on the Kalista, and it's on the Draven as well. There is a chance, because we've seen this in, I believe it was Pays played this against T1 in the Gen G T1 series, and we saw even Gimiyushi played as well, I believe, in a game. We have seen some lethality Kalista. You go Halo Blades, you don't go any attack speed, and you just look for the Q max. Worth noting as well that if your Q is maxed out, especially with lethality as well, you clear the entirety of backline minions, which means that for each minion it goes through, it stacks up another Ren stack on your final target. So if you're on a wave and you hit a Q through the entirety of it and then slam them back through, it's like 4 Ren stacks in one.
That's huge.
It's a really huge trade, so you get a huge amount of poke with that, and we'll see where the Ruler goes towards that. He's not. He's gone for the Vamp Scepter. So for all I've just been talking about that, I saw the headlights.
Oh, he's actually checked it around, back to the dirt.
Okay, oh, it is different. Okay, wow, so Ruler is good. I'm so glad I talked about it.
Yeah, literally baited you by selling the Vamp Scepter back off and picking up the Dirk and the longsword.
I was sat there waiting for the base and like, does any of this matter? And apparently it does. Ruler going for lethality Kalista, very squishy lobby, means you can play at a longer range as well. It means that Camille, as she's looking for the hook shot, can punish maybe a Kalista that's looking to play auto attack range, maybe can't do that for a Kalista that's looking to play at full Q range as well.
Let's get the replay here is Cryan did go up the river to pick up some honey fruit, keep his HP bar a little topped up after the earlier trade from the Tibbers. And looks like Leon didn't get to finish off all 3 grubs the first time around, so he come back to finish up what he started a little earlier. Okay,
so mid lane matchup is about to change quite a lot. Merc treads on both of these carries now. Cryan. So one of the bonuses of going for triple tonic and dematerializes is that once you get your tier 2 boots, even if you haven't bought any other AP, you can still clear backline minions at level 7. It's a huge break point for Ari at that point. However, we did say it can cost you some trades in the early game, but Yagao's not really managed to leverage that. He's going towards his AP items now. I'd love to see a Dark Seal in, because again, it's such a squishy lobby. Lost a chance for resets. You have a reset comp. And we need to see really whether they can go bot lane as well. Both these bot lanes, despite the fact that they are kind of fist fight bot lanes, have kind of been left alone outside of a couple of early look-ins for vision more than anything.
Yeah, that's kind of been it. It's been a relatively tame early game despite some of the laning options. It felt like with all the pick in every lane, actually, frankly, both these junglers could have started a very early snowball, but it's been a relatively measured affair so far. Could well change as yet. Charm goes wide onto Yagao, but Cryan will break the Molten Shield briefly, and that's about it.
So the funny thing there is actually Cryan takes more damage than Yagao does, because the shield is broken, but the Molten Shield procs on Cryan, which procs Scorch on him, so he gets poked out by his own skill. Man, Annie, what a champion, man, what a champion. Anyway, both junglers on bot side, potentially first 3v3 of the game.
Aha. Both junglers at level 6 as well, very ready and willing to throw down. Leon will take the initial trade with throwing out the Spectral Maw and a 10% or so chunk onto Kanavi's Jax. Bot side, the handshake lands, but Wink will throw down the ultimate to get some damage back on a missing. Remember, there's still the Fate's Call to pull back Renata. The hostile takeover comes across, and so it's ultimate thrown, but no real lasting damage done. YSKM locks Sheer under the turret. That's a disaster for the Xanto, who's taken very low, but not down as yet. And it is the HP bar trade for YSKM.
I think YSKM thought he could shove the minions out of tower range, give Sheer aggro with that ultimate. It doesn't quite happen that way. The minions stay within tower range and Sheer lives. So, Cryan now roaming into River. Potentially have a chance of a pick. Yagao almost a stun.
Cryan playing with fire a little bit there, quite literally in the case of Annie. But doesn't have a Tibbers dropped on her face, and so they get to leave that one all lane.
One thing which I want to highlight as well, in terms of the Sheer over Flandre debates, and why they're switching places. I mean, you can see that Sheer actually doing very well in the laning phase. YSKM's Camille, one of his famous champions, one of his kind of select, his kind of like chef's choice in the top lane. He's currently got 2 top lane turret plates, and he's got himself a CS lead as well, so he's doing very well on that level. So Sheer, if you can continue that up and deny a YSKM from having that early game advantage, that's a big bonus for them.
Note as well that it's the early Hydra in the Tiamat, sorry, for Camille, looking for wave shove here. As we've got a bot side fight, we'll have to leave that one a little bit later. The flash on in, the Whirling Death comes on through, Missing taken low but not down, and Ruler and Missing just get to back away. HP bars once again threatened, but frankly they traded back just fine mid lane. Tibbers drop, but Cryan running away relatively fast.
I mean, you've got Merc Treads at this point. Very hard for Annie to full 100-0. Bot side, though, I mean, Ruler and Missing, using the fact that Missing can body block a bit and get pulled back with the Callista ultimate. But IG, they're really trying to force the 3v3 on this bot side. Problem is, they're forcing 3v3 bot side, but they already lost that first dragon, and because they don't get this play bot side, they're going to lose the second dragon as well, which means that JDG, they can potentially leave a dragon up the next time it comes around, and IG are going to start getting more pressure put on them from the fact that JDG have the objective advantage. Leanne on vision looking for a steal.
He's going to come over. They know exactly where he is. Can still look to come and
Oh, he gets it!
Even through the rend and buffers out of the stun as well.
They had full vision on him. He throws an E towards that wall. He goes invisible, and JDG know he's there, and it still falls apart. So suddenly the equation is a little different because they wait. That's a teleport onto Ruler. They stop his back.
Oh no, he's got no flash. He's got a heal in a dream, but Cryan is here, trying to go over the wall. The charm goes wide, but Ruler gets knocked up into the air and goes down the hook back over onto Kanavi. The reset, of course, comes on through, but Kanavi has to flash away from the second half of the Orbit Deception.
Cryan, valuable TP there indeed. I'm personally sad he doesn't end up getting any Dark Seal stacks on that one. He could have used that on the recall he was on. God damn it, if you're looking for the earliest plays. Look, okay, I keep ranting about this because it's so important if the kill doesn't go through. The whole thing is, you want to buy Dark Seal before the first big fight of the game because it accelerates you so much as Ori, because you're very good at keeping them safe as well, those stacks. You don't tend to lose them for free unless you're really bad at positioning. See that Leanne going towards topside objectives now, and JDG, bit of a awkward moment for them as Ruler gets picked off in an awkward position. He normally gets that in mid lane, not in bot lane like tier 2.
See the replay now, because Leon just walks up and smites it through Smite Rend on the other side.
Oh, 10 HP! He doesn't even smite, he doesn't have to. The combo is 10 HP off from Kanavi and Ruler. Awkward moment for them. And then to add insult to injury, I don't know if that ward spots the actual recall coming through from Renata, but then Cryan just gets a huge combo through, even with the heal up. It goes, you know, there's no point of him using the heal at this point. He knows he's dead, and Kanavi luckily has enough mobility to get out.
Of course, with the Whirling Death following up after that as well, his reset was really heavily delayed, so that's partly why Leon got to go over, despite where his members were on the map, and just take away 2 of those grubs. Doesn't get the full 6, but does get that 5 breakpoint, having stolen a dragon early as well. IG very pleased with this early game now.
And now Missing, caught out a little bit. See where Wink throws the hook, he throws it to Ruler. That was a good choice for him. You see that Missing was actually too far from the Callista ultimate. Ruler has to step up, and that puts him into the hook range. So Wink choosing the right target there.
Yeah, Arn did have to burn the cleanse for his aggression stepping forwards there. Could be proven difficult as Yagao coming on over.
No cleanse now.
For the the hook. No, not going to make it happen, though. The big damage back onto Missing. There we go. The shutdown from the whirling death as they look for him. Yes, they shut the Draven down, but not before he cashes in all those juicy stacks.
Oh, that's such a horrible moment for JDG, because they just gave her over 132 CS with loads of axes caught Draven, the full amount of those stacks, and now suddenly you can see 2,000 gold advantage, largely because of that cash in. JDG, we said this is a very snowbally game. You can't afford to make a lot of mistakes like this, and now Wink's trying to force another.
Speaking of mistakes, still no flash on Ruler. The Heartbreaker comes on through, and Ruler loses his crown as Len stabs it straight through with the Blade of the Ruined King.
Turns out there's already a king on the rift here, and it's the Viego. And funnily enough, it's not quite Return of the King. That would be Viego Mortensen, as known from the Lord of the Rings.
Of course, yeah.
See, that's funny because it sounds like Viego Mortensen. Anyway, whatever. Arn gets stunned up, sees the counter-strike coming in, and says, look, I don't have a flash, I don't have a cleanse, let's just see if I can get this through. Missing, sadly, not in position to survive, and didn't have a bailout for himself either. If he had a bailout, I think that's completely different, because you at least to get the kill before the return comes in.
Has now led to a fairly aggressive early snowball from what was a quiet early game. Still only 3-1 in kills. It's just where those kills have come from that have been so valuable. Crying, getting more time alone on this top side. We saw Yagao did teleport up there, but without the Tibbers, wasn't really able to chunk out the Ahri, and she's just got to stick there and take down that turret. JDG taking the opportunity, though, to try and punish YSK and invade on the red side jungle, but the handshake goes wide this time.
And that's one of the saving graces, is that they are still managing to push YSK back. You rightfully called out the Ravenous Hydra earlier in terms of the Tiamat first. It's not going to be the Trinity Force first, which is more about, the single target damage. Against the Cassandre, I think because he has a lot more, AoE wave clear with just spamming Qs, once he gets significant levels in that, especially with the Ice Spawn as well, you want to just be able to contest that and keep yourself some presence in a side lane. Can't necessarily do that, though. IG are splitting the map with the Herald. They're taking inner turret on top side, and though JDG have good vision across the mid to bot sections of the map, they don't really have that on top side, so they don't feel like they can contest until the push has already come through.
No, and of course with 5 grubs and a Herald, those towers die real fast, so they take the time they've got. A lot of gold there into the Ahri, into the Viego, both of whom have gotten the kill and playing out just fine in this early game, so a lot of gold going towards both of those.
And of course this is the double reset comp with a large amount of target access. JDG, I think recently they had some fantastic games versus top esports, and they showed us why we do still view them as a top 3, top 2 team, somewhere around that kind of margin. Depends how good FPX are as well when they come into playoffs. They're definitely up there in the upper echelons though. But they have been known in some early games to be caught flat-footed, be put behind the game, and things don't look as good as soon as that comes through. Now IG, they've claimed vision control once again on the bot side of the map. This would be a second dragon for them. So JDG, they want to just try to hold their battle lines and use these minions maybe to block out some of the pick attempts as well.
Yeah, and we said checking into Fog of War would be scary for both teams. They decide to force through mid lane. Kanavi gets in danger, but already the Blitzcrank just dies. No chance to get on out there, and immediately a man advantage for JDG who just turn and burn on the metal robot.
Yeah, that's a really good play from them. They managed to get themselves turret and a kill. Sheer still has his ghost running, but he can't go too far forwards. Arn is still very, very strong and has an early last whisper too. That cash-in kind of got him towards that break point, so he's not necessarily going to be as tanky as other Xantes at this point. IG still want the fight though.
Yeah, the problem is JDG have got every single ultimate still available and the man advantage. This is a very difficult one for Invictus Gaming to contest. I think we just have to give it up and shove through mid instead.
So you can see them missing, chunked out. Can IG find anything? They can't even find themselves the mid lane out of turret. So JDG, credit to them. The way that I've described this team is disciplined. They are very good at kind of not giving freebies over compared to other LPL teams. Doesn't mean they don't always do it. Gonna throw that one out there as just a bit of insurance in case it happens this game. But still, JDG, we typically like to hold their battle lines and force enemies to make mistakes and try not to make as many themselves. JDG heading back towards their own jungle. Kanavi, he needs to hop over. Is he gonna get hooked back?
Oh,
he is.
Remember, he's still got a flash, maybe forced to use it, but it's too little too late. Immediately eviscerated. And Ahri picks up another kill. I'm sorry, there is a Dark Seal.
And you know about those mistakes which JDG don't make. They just made one as Kanavi had flash, did hop over the wall, but just disrespecting Wink's Blitzcrank, which has been a hell of a pick for IG so far. And in this split too, Wink's Blitzcrank occasionally comes out. I mean, they even beat top esports with this pick. And largely it was just Wink landing hook after hook. This replay is not the best example of that, as he just kind of runs in and, dies horribly. I love how Sheer, great job from him here, basically just saying, look, I'm just going to press W in front of the Blitzcrank so he doesn't have a hook target. He can't hook me because I'm W, I'm immovable, and also I have, large damage resistance as well. And then it says, okay, try and get through me. He can't, he dies.
And 2 items now on both Cryan and Arn, doing very, very well, and On that Blitzcrank point, you've got to remember as well, to those of us who are coming at this from a bit of a Western perspective of League of Legends, our most hated champion for a lot of people was Yuumi, right? We really struggled with the cat, we found it very annoying. In Korea, in China, people don't care about Yuumi. They're fine with that champion. They're not fussed with her. The one they hate, it's Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is the champion that they think is the really unbalanced, unfun, unskilled, inverted commas, support champion, just because of how binary those hooks can be and how annoying it is. That is the permaban over there. It's just such a different look, and you can see how tilty it can be for teams if a good Blitzcrank player starts doing this.
If Blitzcrank wins lane, this champion is... it's something else, because... suddenly every bush is complete kill threats. Because it's a support, they don't have to be on a wave, they don't have to be in any particular location on the map, which means that they're not kind of, you know, tied to certain locations like some other pick champions from mid or top lane can be. Link, as he stands now in mid lane, he has flash, he has ult, he is pretty ready to run at people with mobility boots. I think also in this game too, worth noting, not many ways for JDG to blow those mobility boots, so Wink will be able to run at you with full move speed. One of the most important things in League of Legends is move speed differential. How much faster are you than your opponent? If they're fast but you're faster, then it still matters. But if you're fast and they're faster, obviously it doesn't feel the same way.
No.
When you have mobility boots and you can't pop it, you're sat here with someone like Ruler who has to blow his Yomus to match speed with the mobility boots. And that's not really what you want, as Wink has been very on point with his hooks.
Also point out here as well, because Arn's got the Lord Dominic's regard so early, it means people like Sheer, people like Kanavi really can't stand to deliver versus the Draven in the way they might otherwise do at the 2 items. Of course, it means less threat onto the squishy targets the Draven might have if he'd gone for a slightly more lethality or crit build. Collector, obviously, for a long time was such a huge item on the Draven, but this way has a little bit more threat onto that front line. Even someone like Renato, who actually gets a surprising amount of HP as a champion, can be a good person to be hitting with that.
Yeah, it's just a really good early item to get in a lot of ways. I think one of the big problems in the current meta is a lot of the current AD carries can't build early Lord Doms. You need to get it third, really.
Yeah.
But the thing with someone like Draven is you can just slam it straight in. When you think of someone like Isaiah, needs an attack speed item, needs an Avori, and then can go it, stuff like that. And then you've got the Rage Blade carries as well. It feels like Draven, one of the very few which can just say, yep, cool, I got this. Maybe Tristan is the other one. She can sometimes go for that as well. Or even then, she likes to typically get that as a third one beyond that point. But now, as we come into this point, it does mean that you have to kind of shift around like your battlefield calculations to say, how does my front line survive? How long do they survive? How much time have our carries got while we buy them that space?
2 items on the Ahri, on the Camille, on the and you got 1.5 on the Viego. Your ability to threaten backline is still pretty good here as the vision control's gone again and you're into a Blitzcrank.
That's very, very dangerous. Speaking of that kind of Blitzcrank and being in Fog of War, one of the best ways to deal with him is stuff like Banshee's Veil and stuff like that, or Edge of Night, right? Ruler, once he gets Edge of Night, he can play a little bit more disrespectfully. I actually wonder whether Cryon should have gone for a Banshee second item himself, but just because it allows you to be such a brazen engaged tool and help IG dive in. Something like Horizon Focus, it's a very cheap spike, but I actually think that something like Ingenious Hunter twinned up with a Banshees for a 20-second spell shield cooldown could have helped IG play out this mid-game. As you can see, they haven't been able to make that many plays. They're looking for real freak hooks most of the time, but Sheer has stood there just threatening to press W to stop them from getting that easily.
Observer's phenomenal block on the hook, and now the turnaround is massive! That's the Viego just gone into the double hostile takeover. Arn immediately cleanses, trying to pull back and actually Sheer in a dangerous position. As the Lord Dom's auto attack still fly, they get the pick onto the jungler. Charm goes wide, Yugao flashing on forward, doesn't get the stun they were looking for. His Crime was fast enough with the ult trigger, Spirit rushing out to safety, but once again a dragon fight with a man advantage.
Oh, well, but Arn also flashed. That's a huge loss for IG as they push too far. You can't make these plays around Sheer's Cassante. Cassante is one of the best out-of-lane counters to the Blitzcrank, because you can just stand there and press W, and that's exactly what happens. So IG, despite the gold lead from Draven Cash-ins, are going to lose themselves another dragon likely.
Soul point going to be secured by JDG unless IG pull off a miracle. They're looking for the fight. Remember, it's still 4v5. YSKM gets the stun onto Sheer, who's got no ghost and can still be in danger. Kanavi now looking for the double counter strike. Leap striking on in. Arm, no flash, no cleanse, no hope. Down for the count. And now the fight can continue. Crying, trying their best to clear out the wave, but with Baron alive, JDG have just found themselves everything they could ask for and more, to quote Dracos.
So they have themselves a really good moment here where they were the ones again who didn't make the mistake first. They let IG do that, so JDG gonna get themselves the ability to start stacking up Rens. It's the lethality cluster, so they stacked up those Rens less quickly. Cryon looking for a fight right now.
Can definitely look to do that. Can be dangerous. That's a big charm, big amount of damage. The bailout comes on through to Kanavi, but they're gone. He gets reset. He does get alive. The Hextech all the way comes on down. They still just can't kill anybody. They still cannot get the resets. Denied.
And that means that JDG can get themselves towards a Baron, finally. Maybe actually with Kanavi being so low, it's hard to do that. And they will back off, so IG, they give a lot of blood for it, but the Baron doesn't go over. They still get themselves that soul point, they still put IG into a really difficult spot, and JDG now going to be looking, I guess, to set up around the Baron again.
Respawning, the Whirling Death could have proven really lethal there, so they decided against it, but it's still JDG who break the gold lead, get a load of kills, shut down the Draven. Feels very good indeed. We'll see this replay because it's double picks that cause trouble.
And you know, this is the big problem with playing against the Cassante. You know, how can you do that through this champion? Yes, Ruler ends up pushing that flash through. He didn't need to use that, actually. Sheer does a great job of frontlining for him. And again, Sheer playing over Flandre. This is a player which we don't always expect to be playing on this roster. As we see beyond this point, numbers advantage because there's no Draven at this point in the fight. You're just looking for that reset. We haven't really had a Viego reset combo, but the bailout comes through, makes it so much harder to play around that because Renata just stops you from getting it the easiest opportunity.
Chaos afterwards, well, so Kanavi still gets to back away. And as you said, the bailout initially kept them alive, and Kanavi from being forced out of his jungle a number of times, forced to flash away from Blitzcrank hooks. Now 3-1 and 3, feeling very strong in this game with the Sundered Sky complete, and Jen still caught at that one item, still not got the second completed, and getting increasingly dicey to work with. Arn at least has the Infinity Edge done.
Yeah, and it means that if Arn has both summoners, he can make a big difference. I just don't know whether he's going to have those ones completely, though. It has felt like JDG, you know, they have a good composition to deal with Draven if he's kind of stood in kind of like the middle range, because someone like Yagao can answer him very well with a flash stun. He isn't going for something like Lethality for, you know, the Edge of Night himself, which of course Ruler has on the other side. I wonder if he, well, I mean, he has the Mikhails now from Blitzcrank. I was thinking if maybe if he gets a personal QSS, maybe that makes a difference, but maybe Wink can do the same for him all the same. IG, they've been eating the end of a lot of bad trades right now in terms of these team fights. Remember, they only need one kill into a one reset to really flip this game. So JDG, they still can't afford to make any big mistakes at important moments.
Indeed, Sheer gets hit with the charm, but again, that's the Cassante, not the easiest champion to burst out. Kanavi now looking for a flank, and I'll just walk straight into the waiting arms. Will cleanse away, but just can't run far enough out. Kanavi just leap strikes and eviscerates the Draven. That was disastrous.
And as that happens, YSKM also caught in the back end, so JDG, they're walking away with another 2 kills. They will finally have themselves a fight where they also have the HP bars at the end of it to go towards the Baron. Even though IG, they are a team of Draven players, it is so hard for them to play in this game. JDG will get themselves what is likely a free objective. Leanne did steal an earlier dragon though, and he is in range with an ult over the wall.
Trying to jump onto him, but remember they've got Ren, so it shouldn't be super easy. There goes the blast cam down to about 5,000 HP. Cryan's still here. No teleport for YSK to consider getting on. This could still be an option to steal. The hostile Togover does not hit the right target. Down to 2,000 HP. They can still make it happen. It doesn't happen. You got a bit worried for a second because he was available. Leanne might find Kanavi here. Is instead going to be in a 1v1 versus a Jax 2 levels higher. So it has to back away.
I was going to say, I don't think it's Leanne finding Kanavi. I think it's Kanavi finding Leanne. Look, you can phrase that how you want. It's a bad thing for the Viego in this one.
It's like opening a chest and it being a mimic. He's like, I found the mimic. It's like, that's not great. That's not a great moment.
Have you been watching too much Free Ring, Sam? You have? Yeah, okay, I thought so. On the reason he paths down that way is because he's trying to avoid the loyalty program from the Renata. Go straight into the waiting arms of Kanavi all the same, and IG, they just can't find themselves the first kill. If they can get themselves one clean kill at the start of a team fight, they can get themselves a reset and potentially win fights. Again, with the Draven cash-ins earlier into the game, they have themselves a lot of extra gold. This will likely be last chance saloon though, as Soul is now on the table for JDG.
But it's on to Sheer. This Cassante just isn't a valuable target. YSKM also around, but again, the last few times the fights have happened, the bailouts have been enough to keep people alive. Add in a Mikhails, add in some shields, and targets aren't available. YSKM still off vision. He's managed to do some serious metal gearing. Flash, charm, not enough time. They're going to beat by much damage, and the hook afterwards. That's big. Ruler is the one who's going to be bailed out, but it's not. It's too late. He's gone. There's nothing to work with. The Callista down for the count. Leanne now looking on the flank to find something more. Will land a Spectral more onto Missing, who cannot be saved. Sheer hit with the charm. The handshake does some work. Sheer trying to escape with the all out on the other side of the wall. The YSKM will hook shot in to a Hextech ultimatum just to die. They'll try and go on in with Leanne's ultimate, who wants to get the kill on his shoe. He's just too tanky. Kanavi in the backside 1v3s and just murders everybody.
He gets the final counter strike as well for a triple kill from the jungler. of Jingdong Gaming, and once again, IG cannot get themselves the free reset. Lien wasn't there to get himself the reset onto Ruler, and at the end of that, he isn't there to finish off a kill onto Shea either, who's just too goddamn tanky. I really think this top laner of JDG is my player of the game. He has made this game insufferable for the reset composition of IG. As after a bit of a difficult early game, JDG have stabilized and they have put IG to the sword.
And that's after they get the pick on the Callista. That should have been what they were looking for, and yet somehow, some way, Konami runs rampant in a 1v3/4. And they cannot kill the top laner on the other side.
I mean, you get the first kill into the AD carry, and normally think, haha, this is the game, this is good. We have killed the AD carry in a late game scenario. You still have a huge amount of ultimates to bring to bear. You still don't have a way to get through this front line very easily. Arn, with the Lord Dominus Regards, does great jobs against, great damage against Sheer, but he ends up using Wink as a tack seat to safety. I think that's a real misposition by Wink. You cannot allow Sheer to leave the active range of Viego at that point. As soon as that mistake is made from Wink, I think the game is just effectively over. As soon as you've lost so much ability to get that reset off, the fight falls apart.
And the Counter-Strike is on a low enough cooldown at this point that Kanavi gets a second activation of it, and despite Arn's DPS, you cannot auto through that Counter-Strike, and Draven falls to the staff of Jax.
Now, when you've got the Ocean Soul as well, I mean, good luck killing Jax and Cassandra beyond this point. You know, sometimes that 1-2 items, sometimes the Jax is not quite as tanky as your other kind of contemporaries of, you know, the Xin Sao mainly, stuff like that, and of course stuff like your Sejuani and other true tank junglers too. Late game though, because he's regenning an awful lot too through the Thunder Sky, very, very hard to take down this champion. You really are just hoping from IG that JDG make a huge positioning error and that one of their players is out of position. You can get yourself a reset. That's not realistically been something that JDG do that often though. Again, sometimes it will happen here and there, but it's not that common. With the cholesterol and the bailout from Renata too, even harder to capitalize on that should an opening be seen.
Will be a difficult scenario. IG, last chance saloon, finally a second item on this Viego, but too little too late compared to everyone else. They get a attempted look on him, but YSKM has to buffer their way out with a hook shot. This Camille 0-3-0 really not having an impact this game.
Even though it's one of YSKM's specialties and it works into the Cassandra mighty fine. That's a CC combo. When can you miss it? He's gone.
Nothing left to see there but some scrap parts. Gears stop moving, and Sheer continues to be a very frustrating frontliner as Kanavi in a 1v1 ends up caught under the turret here in a dangerous position. Will still get a leap strike away, and with Ocean Soul, he just doesn't take anything near lethal damage. Lian gets a stun but has to buffer their way over as Sheer will still manage to get the all-out force a flash on Lian because he followed with his own ultimate.
Oh my god, Kanavi with the Ocean Soul ticking is actually almost at full HP again, so he's walked out from a 1v3 and buying a couple of ultimates. It actually turns out better for wherever. Here comes the ultimates.
Fate's Call doesn't get that much value, and immediately missing has to back away just a touch. Not left with broken base, and inhibitor going down. IG looking for the hook again. It's on Sheer, who just has a W and is completely fine.
JDG, they break the base finally, and with Baron up in a minute, they can reset, they can look towards that objective, and IG, they'll probably once again be put into a very difficult scenario where they're just praying that JDG make a mistake. They're spotting some resets right now. I again don't really know what you can do about this, as Sheer is, he's made of marble at this point, and you're armed with like a paper towel. JDG, they go back, spend their gold, ready to take the next objective.
We see enough marble statues around. Generally speaking, there are gods and goddesses.
Oh wait, no, paper does beat rock actually. Maybe that's a bad example.
Maybe. Well, why does paper beat rock?
I don't know, Sam.
I just I thought we might have stolen that, but no. There was a spike. Could I be fast enough on that one?
So they're like, Wink, how much annoyance have you got left in you for this one? So Mikhail's might end up being important. Arndt does have both summoners, and again, he's a 3.5 item Draven. There's a chance he can chew through that front line. He just can't be allowed to be left alone with a Jax spinning up a counter-strike in front of him, though.
17 Jax as well. He's 2 levels in the bloody mid laner. He gets to hop forwards and force a cleanse onto Lian, who is going to be on the wrong end of a hostile takeover now, as it is Arn who's forced to cleanse before he kills out his own top laner, flashing away from the counter-strike, throwing some damage back. The Whirling Death comes on through, but there's not that many stacks to do anything resembling DPS, and already the summoners are all popped for IG. They have to back away from the fight.
Now you don't have those summoners onto Arn. It doesn't even matter that JDG trade things for those summoners. The problem is Arn just cannot fight without Cleanse and Flash. He has a Mikhail's now from Wink. The hook misses, and JDG continue their way towards the Baron. Teleport behind them.
They want to try and play this one regardless, flashing away from the Tibbers that doesn't land. Cryin, no ultimate left, still to work with Leon. On the wrong end of Shear's trades, just can't get into the pit. It's going to go down in favor of JDG, but the fight afterwards could be huge. Yagao chunked out into the bailout, trying to stay alive, does get reset. The damage just comes flying through. Kanavi and Ruler eviscerate the entire enemy team, and JDG just scale up and brutalize the late game team fights.
Invictus Giant Slayers are themselves cut down to size. They beat Jingdong Gaming the last time they met in summer 2023. And JDG do not want that to be a recurring event here in the LPL. JDG take game 1.
It was a little unceremonious once the mid-game started rolling. It looked good early on for IG. Some good gold leads. Some good shutdowns and stack cash-ins for the Draven. But then suddenly Cassante frontline. Suddenly team fights becoming next to unplayable because resets just were not happening. Invictus Gaming fall apart.
That'll do us for game 1. Thank you everyone for tuning into the stream as always. IG have had a great record against top teams so far in 2024 and in 2023 summer, as we kept saying. They beat every Worlds team but BLG, and of course they beat BLG in this split as well. So against like the top upper echelon of the LPL, they've done an insanely large amount of work, and that's why we kind of look at these games and at that early game and you say, yeah, you know what, despite the fact that, you know, IG lost to Team WE and they've lost to some other teams we consider mid-table instead of top-table, there's a chance that this could be spooky. In this game though, couldn't last that out to the mid and late game where JDG, they just played around their front line really, really well. For me, sheer MVP, I think that Cassante was absolutely obnoxious for IG to deal with, and it shut down the win condition of really Blitzcrank Hook into resets.
I think you could see an argument for Kanavi off really good team fighting, but he was punished quite a lot early, so perhaps a little bit more difficult. As I do think Sheer, as you said, just made the Blitzcrank so challenging to play. Some of those team fights so challenging to play because he just couldn't get through the giant wall that was Sheer's Cassante. Won the lane pretty well as well. YSKM was kind of a bit of a non-factor, frankly, despite it being nominally a counter pick. A lot of good things from the top laner there of JDG. We'll remind from Mecca we need beverages and to run ads. And
yeah,
I did see in chat earlier as well, someone was asking how long is the average game of logs? It looks like a fun game. They might want to give it a go at some point.